Hello everybody and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorials. Today we are going to be making some Christmas cards using the Pink Gnomes Christmas Journal Kit and the add-on kit as well. Both of those are available in our shop and I will have links in the description box below. You're also going to need the new templates that we have for these Christmas cards, which includes these envelopes and also the cards themselves. The envelopes are printed on paper, and I printed them with designs from the Pink Gnomes kit, front and back. And I also printed the cards on cardstock with one of the papers from that kit, just a real sort of simple paper since we're going to be decorating it. And I did that front as back as well. And these come with two different designs. One's more scalloped and the other is rounded, so you can choose which ones you want to use. I'm going to be using both today and showing two different decorating designs that we're going to do. So let's go ahead and get started by cutting everything out and assembling. For the envelope, it's the same as all of the envelopes in our kits. You just fold the sides and the bottom and then the top down. There are sort of like these little faded lines that you can see. Like on the cards themselves. This one is just a trifold, and you just sort of want to find that sort of shadow line and fold on it as best you can. And if you fold them properly, they should fit inside of the envelope perfectly, just like this. Alright, and once that is done, we can go ahead and get started with decorating. So for that, I'm going to take this lined paper that comes with the Pink Gnomes Christmas Journal Kit, and opening up the cards, I'm going to be lining up that sort of like closing flap line with the edge of the paper, and just tracing over the edge. And you can choose which direction you want the lines to go. I decided to go horizontally for mine. Again, just tracing over the edge and then cutting those out. And I'm just going to be gluing these down, and that's going to make this edge a little more decorative. Trimming off any extra that's showing here. And then I'm going to be going over all of the edges with some Distress Oxide in the color Victorian Velvet. And again, we will have links for that down in the description box below if you're interested. And for this one, I just went ahead and went a little bit heavy-handed, and the second one I went a little bit lighter just to kind of see how it looked. You don't have to use the Distress ink, it's entirely optional. I just kind of like the way that it looks. It kind of helps cover up edges and things like that. Gives it a little more definition. Alright, and this is what it should look like when it is finished. And I'm not going to do it on the inside, just the outside for now. And once we have that done, I'm going to take some of these decorative papers from the kit, and I'm going to be cutting out these labels. You can use whichever labels you wanted. These are just the ones I chose. And once you cut them out, they should look something kind of like this, just following the general shape. And we're going to give these a background, so taking that striped paper, I'm going to be gluing these labels on top, and then just sort of cutting around them again, following the general shape, giving it maybe like 1/4 of an inch boundary. You can really make it as large as you want. I just sort of eyeballed the shapes that I liked. And then I'm going to be making these like decorative frames for them by just cutting out some of the decorative papers using one of the pockets as a stencil because I found it was pretty much the right size. And those are going to go behind the labels here. So I'm going to glue these labels down. Alright, and now that that's finished, it should look something like this. And now we are going to go ahead and add a little bit of a decorative border by sewing a little pattern here, just sort of like a little frame right inside our paper frame that we made. I'll show you what that looks like right now. Alright, and I also added some sewing to this bottom half as well, so you can see I did sort of like a zigzag stitch in like a pink colored thread. And now taking that striped paper again and one of these cards from the add-on kit, I'm going to be gluing these down right in between the sewed frame that we made. But first I'm going to round the corners here. And then again with that pink striped paper, I'm just going to make a little border for them by gluing them down on top of it and then cutting out a small frame. Again, you can make this as large or small as you wanted. I kind of just went a little bit larger and then continued to trim it down until I liked the size of it, sort of fitting right in between the sewn edges. And then again, rounding the corners and going in with some Distress Oxide, just like that. And it's really important to remember to turn these upside down when you glue them so that they are right side up when the card is folded, like this. So, real important that you do that. So just gluing those down. Again, you could add more sewing or decoration if you want. This is just what I'm doing for now. And when you're done, it should look something like this. Okay, and now we can go ahead and add up the finishing pieces, which are going to be these little pink buttons that I had. I will try to find a link for those and have that down in the description box as well. You can use any button you like, and I'm just going to glue those down along with a little bit of this like decorative ribbon. It's like a lace ribbon, and I'm just going to glue that down and trim off any extra. And then go over it with a little bit of Distress ink, again, just to sort of make it look finished. And this is what you should have when you are done. Okay, now we can go ahead and start with decorating the inside. I'm going to be taking these pretty papers from the kit again and just using these pages that I liked by tearing out like large sections from them. And these should be kind of messy tears. You don't want them too square looking. And I'm just grabbing ones that I think sort of fit the theme of each card and laying them out sort of in the center like this. And I'm going to be going over the edges again with that Distress Oxide in the color Victorian Velvet. And then to add a little of texture, we are going to be crumpling them up into a ball. And when you open them, they should have like lots of little wrinkles on them, and it just kind of adds a little bit of like that worn junk journal texture that we're looking for. So just going ahead and gluing them down. And when you're done, it should look something like this. It's kind of hard to see the wrinkles on camera, but you can kind of pick them up here and there. They just kind of give a little bit of texture to the card. All right, so now that we're done with that, we're going to make some little pockets using these paper lace doilies that I have. And just so you know, these are a little bit delicate, so just be careful when working with them. To cut them out, I just went ahead and used my fingernail to like make an indentation where the end of the card is, like the corner of the card. You could use like a bone folder or something, or a pencil even to trace, since it's kind of see-through. And then just using those marks, I'm going to cut this out and glue it down. Just adding glue along the straight edges here. And again, if you want to, you could use like a card, like a decorative card, and cut that out sort of in the shape of a corner if you want to have something a little sturdier. I found that these worked, but you just want to be a little bit careful. Again, they are sort of thin. All right, and now that those are glued down, we're going to make little note cards that go in them. So I'm taking this note card that comes with the kit, and I'm going to be gluing it to the back of one of these cards from the add-on kit, and then going along the edges with the Distress ink after we glue them back to back. Again, trimming off any extra we might have sticking out. And then I'm going to glue a little bit of ribbon to the front of the card, just at the bottom, make it a little more homemade looking, cutting off the extra just like this. And now we have a little bit of writing space if you want to give someone a note to go with their card. And I made a second one off camera, adding a little bit of sewing to this one and just using like a scrap piece of notebook paper I had from a different kit. These will be nice if you want to give like a little Christmas greeting to somebody, a little personal message for them to have. And again, just be kind of careful putting these cards in the pockets since they're just a little bit delicate. Alright, and now to decorate some more, we are going to be cutting out these labels from this sheet of paper here. Again, you can use any label you want. These are just the ones I picked. And these are going to be going at the top of the card. So we're going to add a little bit of distress ink around the edge of them. And before gluing them down, I'm going to be taking a little bit of this decorative ribbon that I had. It's sort of like lacy. I will try to find a link for this as well and have that in the description box. And we're just going to glue this along the edge, being careful that we can still fold the card shut, and then gluing our labels right on top of that, sort of adding a crease there where the fold is so that it folds easily. Alright, and now we are going to start decorating the middle. So I'm going to cut out this cupcake from the card that came with the kit. And I'm just going to make sure that it actually fits on the card. And to do that, I'll just sort of place it and fold the edges, making sure that nothing's getting bent. And for the other side, I'm going to cut out this little gnome from one of the cards, and he's going to help decorate the second card here. And then I just grabbed some different little ephemera pieces from the add-on kit that kind of went with each card. I'm sort of going for like a confectionery theme with one card and like a Christmas gnome theme with the other. So just sort of placing things where I like them. Also making some little frames for these journal words here. I couldn't find the decorative paper. I either used it or misplaced it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut up this card here and make something similar. And then I'm also going to create some decorations in the corner here by just using a 1.5 inch punch to punch out some striped paper, and then using a 1 inch punch to punch out these flowers from these cards here. And for this one, I'm just going to add like a small pink pearl sticker that I had. And those are going to go in the corners. You can just go ahead and ignore that little white flower. I end up removing it later. And I'm just going to make these little frames for these journal words. And now we can go ahead and glue everything down, adding distress ink to some pieces if you want to. And feel free to use different pieces than I have here. This is kind of just to give you like a guide for how you can decorate your cards. One thing to remember though is not to use anything too thick. Otherwise, the cards might not be able to fold and fit inside of the envelopes. Like, I use these little pink pearls to help decorate, and that's about as thick as I would want to go. Any thicker than that, and your cards will have trouble closing. Alright, just finishing up this card with this little decorative corner. And there you have it. That is the first card finished. And when it's done, it should look something like this. Alright, and now I can go ahead and do the same thing to the second card here. Alright, and to close them up, I'm going to be using these little Velcro dots that I have. You could use anything you wanted. You could use like glue or a sticker or tie them closed with a ribbon. I'm just going to go ahead and use these because this is what I have. I would have probably moved my Merry Christmas cutout down just a little bit so it didn't get covered up by the sticker so much, but that's okay. You kind of live and you learn. So just going ahead and adding both of those Velcro pieces. The second one is see-through, so it doesn't really show up on the art very much. So I think this is a really nice, quick way to close your Christmas cards if you want to. Alright, now we can go ahead and move on to decorating the envelopes, and for that I just grabbed one of the pocket pieces and this little ephemera Oh Holy Night piece, as well as a little bit of pink ribbon, and I'm just going to make kind of like a cross pattern, sort of like a wrapped Christmas present. And then for the second card I'm going to cut out this label from this page here, and I'm going to add some distress ink to the edge of it and then glue it down on top of this like sort of simple snowflake paper that comes with the kit, and I'm just going to cut that into sort of like a rectangle shape to give it a border, and then I'm going to round off those corners and add a little bit more distress ink as well as like a sewn border, and just glue that down on top like so, and then gluing everything down for the second envelope, cutting off the extra, sort of just placing everything where I want it. And again, you can decorate yours differently, however you want. This is just how I'm doing mine to give you an idea. Again, going in with that distress ink around the ephemera piece and then gluing everything down. Alright, and when you're adding the envelopes, I would suggest either putting them in upside down or like turning them around so the lace is facing the other direction, because sometimes they get caught when putting them in. That's just something that I noticed. And then for closing them, you could do several things. You could use glue and just glue it and then add like a ribbon, like a bow to it if you want, or you could tie it shut with some decorative ribbons, or use some wax to like seal it closed, or even make like a button closure. It's kind of up to you. I'm going to leave mine open for now so that we can kind of do one last little look through to see what they look like when they are completely finished. So we've got all these little ephemera pieces and a nice little note card to write a handwritten note on. I think this would be like a really nice way to show somebody that you care for them and tell them Merry Christmas. So I hope that you guys got some inspiration, and thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Bye!